Salons. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Ronnie.
I'm Abby.
And this is Dragons in the Details, where we pick apart your favorite fantasy series over the course of an undetermined number of episodes. How are you today, Abby?
I'm so good. I'm so good. How
are you so good? Why are you so good? That's a glowing endorsement for your morning.
I just ate breakfast at the beach. Can I just tell you?
Lovely.
Okay, so for our listeners, I haven't fully moved to the beach, but my boyfriend and I bought like a small place up at the beach in New England. But it's kind of that thing. I woke up this morning and it's like, you know, when you're like, you don't even realize that you were like sad. And then you're like, oh shit, I have actually felt terrible for the past couple of months. And now I feel so good. And that kind of happened to me this morning. And so like, yeah, if your mental health is suffering, may I recommend moving to the beach? Just might be a cure-all.
Might be a cure-all. Maybe a little inaccessible to most, but I like the thought.
Perhaps there are
that's good.
Other things to do, but yeah. I like your black nails. Oh my God.
I don't paint my nails often, as I think you know.
Yeah.
Hardly ever. But when I do, I always go for this color that I feel like is very popular now, called Linkin Park After Dark.
Oh my God. Linkin Park After Dark was what I wore exclusively in high school and college. That is all I wore. And I haven't painted my nails in years. However,
it's pretty much always on my toenails because as everybody I feel like at this point who listens to this podcast knows, we run. And so my toenails turn blue and fall off, unfortunately. So they're always painted in Linkin Park After Dark, but I'm never going to get like anything else on my fingernails. So
yeah, that and OPI has a color called You Don't Know Jacques, which is like this gray that I really like, but I haven't painted my nails in years because like, this is a fun fact. When you're a chef, you can't have your nails painted. It's like a health code violation. So I just hadn't done it for years. So, and I still haven't, but.
Yeah, my sister lives here now, so she gets manicures, and then it's like an easy way for me to just like hang out with her is to also get a manicure. So it's a very recent development in the last like 3 weeks, I'll call it.
I haven't gotten a manicure or a pedicure since before COVID, probably. And like I want to. It's just like never on my like list of things to do.
Takes time, honestly.
It takes time. I can't do anything. I guess while getting a pedicure I could, but like when you're getting a manicure.
And actually in New York, I think this must be the case everywhere, but they've like really caught on. So Connor comes with us, which is hilarious because they like don't know what to do with this. Like you should see the like paper flip-flops on his feet. It covers maybe 2/3 of his foot, but they have these little stands now. When you're getting manicures, they basically have like a stand for your phone where you can like put it there and like scroll or whatever. So I bring my Kindle and I just like lightly tap to turn the page while I'm getting a manicure now.
That's a huge fucking game changer.
I know, right? Yeah. And I hadn't been to, like you, a salon in years. And then I went and I was like, oh my gosh, I can read my Kindle now. So maybe I'm not so opposed.
You know what else has gotten better, not worse over time, shockingly, is I think movie theaters have gotten way better. It's like to get people to a theater, they need to bring such a level of excess to the like theater going experience. And it's like, there's this movie theater in Georgetown, the AMC. People know it. It's like I literally can lie all the way down. I can like lie flat. Watch
the chair
this
quality
movie.
has gone up massively.
It's like everything is getting worse. Movie theaters and I guess nail salons getting better.
We're getting better. Yeah. Just anyway, strictly consumer disposable income only activities are improving. Perfect.
But anyway, how are you?
I'm better now that it's getting cooler. You know how I feel about summer. I'm a summer hater. So as the temperature comes down, my mood gradually goes up, even with the absence of any other changes.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
We've just been so busy, honestly. I don't know how people plan weddings on top of full-time jobs. 2, I don't know, and people just don't, I think is the answer. I don't know how people plan a wedding on top of a full-time job and a podcast. Like, it's just
I think most people don't have the podcast to show it.
I don't think people do that. Yeah. So I'm fine.
Yeah. You're good. You look great.
Yeah. I actually find that I look better the worse I feel, which is
oh no, you must feel terrible right
now.
Well,
it's like a fake it till you make it type of mindset where I'm like, if I just look okay, then maybe I will feel okay.
Have you considered moving to the beach as previously mentioned?
Yes. Unfortunately, not accessible to
there.
everybody.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. All right. We are in our A Court of Thorns and Roses season. So this season covers the entirety of the published works within Court of Thorns and Roses series. That is ACOTAR, ACOMAF, ACOWAR, ACOFAS. I never say that one. No one ever says A Court of Frost and Starlight and A Court of Silver Flame.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going to do with Silver Flames there.
I didn't get that far. Yep. Anyways, covers all the books. Disclaimer, these episodes will contain spoilers for all of those books. We will also get to a point in the episode where we will discuss spoilers from other series written by Sarah J. Maas, namely Throne of Glass and Crescent City. We will announce those ahead of time. We keep them to the end. If you've listened to us before, you know that we have a section of this podcast where we announce we're going to cover Maasverse spoilers now. That is the invitation for anybody who has not read those two series to leave. But if you're the kind of person who likes to be spoiled, which we've heard some people who listen are, then you can stay, but you'll be spoiled. Okay.
Can I actually tell you something? This is kind of a precursor social media shout out. Someone commented on one of our posts the other day that they did listen to our Maasverse section, hadn't read Crescent City. They knew what they were doing. They willingly got spoiled.
Okay.
They listened to the Maasverse section of our Rhys's family deep dive, and she was like, "I just want you guys to know that I'm starting Crescent City tonight because of your theories on that episode." I was like, "Yes, that's so
Sarah
good."
J. Maas, we're doing things here.
If you just want to give us like $1 for all of the books we've sold,
even just a like on Instagram,
yeah, just like
we'd take it.
The most casual of, yeah,
that's awesome. Honestly, like if I were a hardcore A Court of Thorns and Roses fan who hadn't read anything else, of which there are people out there, like there are people who have just read ACOTAR and just love ACOTAR. If I were a big enough fan that I was listening to this podcast, there is no way that I wouldn't have picked up either Crescent City or Throne of Glass by now.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean there's half of the episode that is about another series? Like, obviously I have to read this.
And I hear, again, guys, I just want to be so clear, as we just stated, Sarah J. Maas gives us no money. We make no money off this podcast. This is all for the love of the game, right? But like,
all love.
Even if you don't want to read Crescent City, Throne of Glass is so similar in such good ways to ACOTAR. Like, and I don't think anyone's arguing against reading Throne of Glass, but just like, I know it's 8 books. I know it seems daunting, but like, guys, it is so good. I'm in the middle of my reread right now. I think I cry every day because of something in this book, like in a good way.
That's a different tune from your first read.
God, I know.
I was worried about you during the first read. I was like, I don't know if we're going to be able to see eye to eye on this.
Okay, here's the thing. And these are not spoilers. Again, at the end of my first read, it was my least favorite one in the first read, but it was also like I had just shoved all this Sarah J. Maas down my throat, right? And I was just like desperately trying to get through it. I always advocate for second reads of books, right? Like always, like, you know where the plot's going. You can like pick up on little things a little easier. My God, I love it so much.
Yeah, I loved it. There are people who think that it is far and away her best piece of work, which I think it might be best. I don't think it's like a landslide, but I really like Throne of Glass, and I know that a lot of people feel the same way.
Anyway, that's our plug for the Maasverse, but you do not have to have read the Maasverse to listen to this podcast, and we love and respect you even if you haven't.
Yeah,
there's plenty of ACOTAR content.
Free will. We don't care what you do. You can be here if you've read none of them. That's a crazy way to spend your time, in my opinion, but you can be here. That's totally fine with us. All right. This podcast is also rated R. Do not listen to it with your children. We curse. There's also curse words and other things in these series that we talk about, so do not listen to it with your children. And each week we dive into a specific topic in depth. This week we are digging into our favorite lovely wicked liar, Feyre Archeron.
Of all the things to call her, we could call her our favorite high lady. Like, so many things we could call her, but I like calling her a wicked liar. It's good.
Yeah, she has a lot of interesting descriptors. I mean, she's a lot of things. We'll obviously talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah, I have nothing more to say on that. Anyways, we come with receipts. We have quotes to back up any theories so that you can follow along if you're skeptical, but you don't have to. We don't judge. Abby, would you like to share any announcements with the class?
Yeah, so we actually do have a couple announcements today. So first off, as per usual, our deep dive music, which is new this season, if you guys have listened, it is done by a real person, a real artist. His name is Schwoodley, Schwoodley. He's on Spotify. You should check him out if you like our deep dive music. We love him as a musician and as a person. we've gotten some requests from you guys, and we want you to know that we hear you on our favorite topic, the Maasverse section. So, as previously mentioned, some of you have read Throne of Glass and not Crescent City. Not a lot who have read Crescent City and not Throne of Glass, but we respect that that exists. And we have heard your requests to break those into separate sections. We're not really able to do that, unfortunately. We don't even know when we make these questions where our answers are going to end up. So we can't really break it into separate sections. But what we're going to start doing is we are going to, in our chapter names that we put on Spotify and that we put on YouTube, we are going to say what books are covered in the kind of answers of that question. So we will say if it's Crescent City. Yes,
right.
sorry, what series?
What series? Because I want to be so clear, guys. We can't break it down to the book level. We love you. We're going to cover these series separately. Yeah. But like to the book level is too much.
Yes, sorry. So it will either say Crescent City or Throne of Glass next to the question name. So if there's anything you want to skip, feel free. And you can just go chapter by chapter. So again, we'll do our best. We really try not to spoil things. We'll try that approach. Let us know how it goes, basically. And then our last announcement, Ron, this is kind of a social media win for us. As of this morning, we have 5,000 followers on Instagram, which is absolutely fucking wild, guys.
That's crazy.
Totally crazy.
Thanks, guys.
Just our silly little podcast that we do for fun. So thanks for coming along. Thanks for joining us on this journey. It's super fun, and we're glad you're here.
Yay. And I mean, maybe just a plug. We don't have a milestone to announce. Well, we've had a few, but like I feel like once you hit 5,000, you just like skip the next few. But we are a few hundred away from 10,000 on TikTok. So
yay!
Maybe if you listen to us and you don't follow us there already, maybe follow us, because that would be cool of you. Yeah.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. Corrections, omissions, social media shout outs. Abby, do you have maybe one more announcement? We're going to start doing those for both sections, because we know that there are social media shout outs that we have that are not ACOTAR only spoilers, and we are not ignoring you. We're just trying to be respectful of everybody who doesn't want to be spoiled. And so we're going to start doing, in my head, I have started calling this COSMs.
COSMs.
I like corrections, omissions, social media shoutouts. We're going to do COSMs for ACOTAR only. And
can we
Maasverse.
add an O at the end and make it Cosmos somehow? Corrections, omissions, social media, orations? I don't know.
Oration?
Yeah, no. We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it. Anyways, do you have any corrections, omissions, or social media shoutouts?
I do. I have one. This is on Rhys's family's deep dive. We talked about a theory about Tamlin possibly saving Rhys's mother and sister's life. And we were like, yeah, like he could have potentially done it. But then why wouldn't he have told Rhys about it in Aquafas, as Ronnie called it, a court of frosted starlight, when he's so like down and Rhys is coming to help him and they're in the manor and Tamlin says, will you ever forgive me? It seems like that would have been the moment to tell Rhys, like, hey, by the way, your mother and sister are actually alive. They're okay. And we were like, if they were alive, why wouldn't he have told them? Sith Lord, that is their name, on Spotify commented, maybe Tamlin could have been forced not to say anything about Rhys's mother and sister the same way the High Lords were forced with Amarantha to not say anything. So there is some kind of magic, some kind of binding spell within this world that prevents people from saying things. We see it with the High Lords, with Feyre under the mountain. They can't help her with the riddle. And we know that they're in general just bound to kind of her wills. Could there be something like that going on? Yeah, totally. And I didn't think about it, but it's a great connection to call out. So thank you, Sith Lord, for that one.
I want to talk more about that later.
Okay, great.
I also have one omission or just thing that I wanted to talk more about that we thought of on the fly, and then I didn't obviously look it up in advance. And so that happens to us a lot. So we talked about how interesting and potentially telling it was that Feyre and her sisters came back as Fae. So context, Feyre, when she is brought back to life by the Seven High Lords, comes back as Fae. And when her sisters are dipped into the cauldron, they also come out as Fae. And they were human before. So they changed forms. We use the example of Rhys staying the same when he was brought back to life as something that was just like a difference in how these came to be. Like Feyre changed, Nesta and Elain changed, Rhys stayed the same. There were actually so many others who were made, like brought back to life, who also did not change, that are like better examples in my opinion, because Rhys was already Fae. So Miriam was brought back to life, and she was just gifted a long life. She was not gifted a new body. She stayed human even when she was brought back. Same with Jurian.
She's half Fae. I think Jurian is the obvious example here. right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Miriam was already half Fae. Yeah, but she stayed the same. Jurian was brought back to life. He stayed the same. My point being,
100% though. Jurian 100% is still human.
And Miriam did not get a new body, regardless of whether she was half Fae, half human. Like, she didn't get a new body. Feyre got a new body, new bones, new blood, new everything was made. Same with her sisters.
Yeah,
why?
Same with her sisters. Same with Archerons. Yeah. And why isn't anyone asking these questions in these books?
What do you mean?
Like, why isn't Rhys like, hey, Jurian, why didn't you come back as Fae?
Yeah, no, couldn't tell you. Yep. Because I think, I think it is said that Jurian was brought back using the cauldron. Like, that was what the King of Hybern was doing.
Yes, that's why they go to the bone carver to say, hey, could you bring someone? This is when I was ranting about how Feyre is like, I can't believe someone would be resurrected. And I was like, Feyre, you are resurrected.
Yeah.
But they go to the bone carver and they're like, could you use the cauldron for resurrection?
Yeah.
I mean, it happens off page. We don't really know, but yeah, 100%.
I don't know. Why is she Fae?
Maybe we have answers. Maybe we don't.
All right. Should we do our fun question?
Fun question.
Our actually fun questions now?
Yes. Our questions are back to being fun, guys. Sorry. We know they were a bit of a drag for a bit. All right,
they
Ronnie.
Drag. They were just like not. They were like basically getting into the episode. Like, we would start the episode.
You're right.
With the question.
All right, Ronnie, which book contains your favorite version of Feyre?
Yeah, my favorite Feyre, I think, was A Court of Mist and Fury Feyre.
I have the same answer.
And I say that because I really enjoyed her and who she was when she was healing and like learning to fight. I just love that arc in a character. I liked her in A Court of Thorns and Roses. She was very scrappy, very like weak, but emotionally strong. I liked her. In A Court of Wings and Ruin, I felt like she had really come into her own and I loved that, but then she also started to get a little holier than thou. So for me, my favorite version of Feyre was A Court of Mist and Fury Feyre, especially when she learned how to fight.
I totally agree. No, it's the same thing.
Okay.
I think like her healing journey is so good. It's so good. It makes the whole series like it's finding that strength. And then, Wings and Ruin, yeah, she's good, but she's already kind of like done the hard part. So now she just gets to be like a huge badass, which is great. But the scene in Hybern attacks Valeris and she like really comes into her power is just like so good. Yeah.
So good. Her and the Waterwolves, like, and that whole like fighting scene, I feel like was something we never really saw out of Feyre again. And that makes me a little sad. Like, I wish we saw more badass fighting Feyre.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? Because in Wings of Ruin, she never really goes into the battle.
Yeah.
And you're like, which is so actually kind of dumb because they're clearly right next to water in that final battle. And because like the ships arrive, right? So like, why isn't she out here using her water wolves to just like destroy shit?
And she's super powerful too. Like, you've got Helion and Rhys in full beast mode and she is not engaged at that point.
Yeah. Well, she has to find the cauldron.
Yeah, she's doing stuff. I'm not saying she's not being important. I'm just like, dang, it was a missed opportunity for us to see Feyre like really fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Should we deep dive?
Yeah, I gotta get my head in the game here. I'm just like in such a good mood right now. I don't know.
All right. Deep dive.
Do. Oh no, that's not. Is that our deep dive music? That's our intro music.
Yeah, our intro music is that. The deep dive is like I can think of it in my head.
I'm totally
like,
blanking on it.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah,
dun,
right.
Dun.
No, that's not it. Is that
it?
It
Is. Yes,
oh
it is.
Yes, that is it. Really Harry Potter vibes. I like it.
It's kind of Harry Potter vibes. It's true.
Right? Because you were singing that. I was like, no, that's Harry Potter music.
That's dun 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 dun.
Yeah, you're right. Look, it's becoming a singing podcast.
All right, Abby. What are Feyre's powers and where do they come from?
All right, you guys, strap in. We have a long fucking list here. Some of these I didn't even really dive into. I just kind of listed them. All right, and jump in whenever you want. First of all, she can winnow. She gets that from Rhys. I don't really think we need to dive into that. She gets that from Rhys. She's also a Daemati, which she also gets from Rhys. I don't think we need... Let me know if you want to jump in and talk about these at all. I don't think we need to talk about them.
Nope.
She gets darkness and shadows, which again, she gets from Rhys, that ability to kind of cast night everywhere. So we see Couple examples of this. When Tamlin locks her in the house in A Court of Mist and Fury, she wraps herself in a cocoon of darkness and fire and ice and wind, but darkness being the first one, so she can kind of control the darkness. Chapter 64, she is again trying to shield herself in A Court of Mist and Fury. She says, talons and wings and shadows were instantly around me, surrounded by water and fire. This is a side note for a different episode, but I really don't know the difference between Asriel's shadow wielding and Rhys's like darkness night wielding, but that's a different topic for a different time.
Yeah.
For
But
now,
they're
let's
clearly
just say,
different.
yeah. I
Like
don't know.
they're said to be different several times. I
Yeah.
agree with you though. Like those shadows, I don't know what they are.
Right. So she has the darkness and the night that Rhys has. She cannot cloak herself in shadows the way that Asriel can and
Right.
kind of move invisibly. She can't do that. She has the water wielding from Tarkin, as we talked about. So she does the water wolf. She also makes animals in the bathtub when she's practicing. Can I tell you, I once read a review of A Court of Mist and Fury, and literally the only review is, this book is so stupid. The main character spends time making water animals in the bathtub instead of fighting a war. And I was like, that is such a simplification of this book. Fuck you.
Also, like, what an interesting thing to. If you're really going to insult this book, I feel like you could pick on bigger plot points than the little water animals in the bathtub.
Yeah. Anyway, fire wielding, which she gets from Baron. So we see her wield fire with Lucian against Eris and his brothers. That's kind of the biggest example. But again, she's wrapping herself in these cocoons of darkness and fire and ice and wind. Again,
Yeah.
she should have known about Tamlin's wind power way ahead of time because she has wind power and she doesn't wonder where she got it from. Anyway, next on, she has ice wielding from Callias. So we see her also wield ice against Eris and his brothers in the Winter Court. She says, ice, I had ice in my veins. And now that we were over the border of the Winter Court, I didn't care if they saw it. My power, Callias's power, not when the alternatives were far worse. So she can wield ice. Interesting that her wielding abilities get stronger, seemingly, if she's in the court where they're from. I think that's just an interesting thing, something to keep in mind with the way the magic of this world works.
Yeah.
Not necessarily something we'll dive into this episode, but just an interesting idea. The wind wielding she gets from Tamlin, as previously mentioned. So she puts a shield of hardened wind around herself to protect herself from Tamlin's explosion in the study. And that's the same hardened wind that he uses to keep her in the Spring Court Manor. So this wind, I know she thinks she only sees it when they're escaping Hybern's camp, but like Tamlin's actually been wielding this wind. She's been wielding this wind for way longer than that. Shifting, we also get from Tamlin. So she shifts herself into looking like Ianthe to get into the King of Hybern's war camp. This I did not pick up on my first read. She also fully shifts herself into Tarkin when they're looking for the Book of Breathings, which I did not pick up on the first read, but she actually does fully shift herself. And then she also shifts herself to have wings, we know, frequently. All right, glamoring. She also gets glamoring from Tamlin. So we have 4 powers now from Tamlin. Wind wielding, shifting, glamoring. Sorry, three powers from Tamlin. So she glamours Elain to look mortal when they go to see Elain's ex-fiance, right? So she can actually do the glamoring that Tamlin did to her at the beginning, which again, go back to our Tamlin episode, but we think Tamlin can do 2 types of glamoring, one of which may just be being a Daemati. It's a whole thing. Go listen to our Tamlin episode if you haven't.
Interesting point on that one that I'm only just thinking of. I know that it says that she glamored Elain. Do you think that she can also shift others the way that Tamlin does?
I do, right? Like, I know, but it says she glamored Elain, but like, she should be able to shift Elain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe she doesn't know that she can yet.
Well, this is what I'm saying. She's been wielding this wind. She literally is wielding wind from the beginning of Mist and Fury, right? She like wraps herself in these cocoons of wind and she didn't know she had it. So yeah, I don't know. She doesn't realize, it's kind of like always this way with like magic systems, right? You don't realize the power you can wield until someone tells you, right? I think it's kind of what's happening here. All right. She also has healing power from Thesson in the Dawn Court. So her blood, when Rhys gets shot with the Bloodbane arrows and he's like dying in the cave and she goes and talks to the Suriel tells her her blood will heal Rhys. So she gives him her blood and he is healed from the poison. She also wants to heal Asriel when the King of Hybern shoots him with a similar arrow, but she can't get to him in time. So her blood is literally a cure-all, I guess, the penicillin of Prithian, basically.
Yeah.
Here's where it gets kind of interesting. And we've talked about this a bit, where Helian's powers come in. So she certainly has the spell-breaking / unraveling power that Helion has from Daycourt, right? So she breaks the spells on her while being held by the King of Hybern in his palace at the end of Mist and Fury. The way that she breaks the spell is by talking to it, right? So she literally talks to the spell. She says, I am Fey and not Fey, all in none. I told the spell that gripped me. I told the spell that gripped me, right? You do not hold me. I am as you are, real and not, little more than gathered wisps of power. You do not hold me. You do not hold me. You do not hold me. The fist gripping my power relaxed, vanished. So she breaks this spell here. She does not do it with a flash of light. There is no flash of light. The King of Hybern has not realized she has done this. She breaks the spell just by talking to it. Then later.
Well, and she breaks the spell by talking to it and relating to it. She's like,
right.
Basically it seems like she's using the fact that she's made to break the spell.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, okay, real and not little more than gather wisps of power. But she's not saying, I am like you, like she does when she's talking to the book.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, it's interesting. When she breaks the wards on the King of Hybern's castle, that does come with a white light, right? So I want to talk about this a bit. So she says, and this is chapter 66 of Mist and Fury, a purifying clear power, cursebreaker, spellbreaker. The light wiped through every physical trapping, showing me the snarls of spells and glamour, showing me the way through. I burned brighter, looking. Buried inside the bone walls of the castle, the wards were woven strong. I sent that blinding light flaring once more, a distraction and sleight of hand as I severed the wards at their ancient arteries. So this time she does seem to be using a light to kind of like probe and find the wards and break them. So it's like sometimes she can just talk to it. Sometimes she needs a light. I don't know if that's a writing thing or something more. I want to talk about it a bit more. She glows. She certainly glows from Helion, right? So this is important. I think Helion has two different abilities here. He has the Spellbreaker ability and he has the glowing ability. So the first time we see her do this, she glows with Rhys. This is chapter 55, everyone's favorite chapter. His smile faded into something odd, something reverent, and I reached out to cup his face in my hands, to find my skin glowing faintly as if some inner light shone beneath my skin, leaking out into the world. Warm and white light, like the sun, like a star. So she's not unraveling a spell here or anything. She's just glowing, right? Like this is just glowing. We later see Helion glow when he's going into battle in Wings and Ruin. So Rhys's snarl shook the earth, but it was Helion glowing with white light, who stepped forward to face the male, claws sinking deep into the mud. So this is chapter 7 of Wings of Ruin. This is the only time we see Helion glow, as far as I can tell, but he is glowing the way that Feyre was glowing. So it's not spell breaking. It's not like Helion's glowing does not seem to be a weapon. He's just glowing. Okay. So we have spell breaking, we have the glowing. Then we have, first of all, before I get into this, do you have anything that I've missed so far? Because there is one more that I want to talk about.
We talked about glamoring, we talked about healing, shifting, spell breaking. No, not other than just being made. No.
Okay. There are times where we see Feyre wield a white light, and it doesn't really seem to have any explanation. Sometimes she seems to wield it as a weapon. Sometimes it's just to blind. But again, we never really see Helion do anything like this. We never really see any of the High Lords do anything like this. There are some people we see do this, and I'm going to get into it. But here are the quotes. Rhys reached for me, and this is back in Hybern. This is Mist and Fury chapter 66. So this is when she releases that glowing white light. Rhys reached for me, but I unleashed my power. A flash of that white light, pure light, all that could escape with the damper from the king's spell. A flash of the light that was only for Rhys, only because of Rhys. I hoped he understood. So couple things going on here. This light is not when she is breaking the wards around the palace, right? Like she has already done that. This light, she says specifically, is a sleight of hand just for Rhys. So this is not glowing. This is a powerful, blinding white light that kind of erupts from her. We don't really know where she got this power from. We haven't really seen anyone else use this power. She says it's a sleight of hand. She says it's a distraction. That's the first time we see her use it. The second time is in A Court of Wings and Ruin, chapter 13. I didn't give Eris time to read my move. I sucked in a sharp breath. White, blinding light erupted from me. Eris swore and I ran. No spells to unravel here. There are no spells. This is just, again, white, blinding light erupting from her. The last one is the Council of the High Lords. So Baron's flame barrier slammed into my water, hard enough that ripples began to form, steam hissing amongst them. So I bared my teeth and sent a fist of white light punching into that fiery shield, the white light of day. Spellbreaker, word cleaver, Baron's eyes widened as his shields began to fray and that water pushed in. So there she is actually using the white light to get through shields. That could be the spell breaking, but I'm not 100% sure because she doesn't always need the white light for the spell breaking. So we have some inconsistencies here. It's kind of strange. I'm not saying we have an answer for it, but it does seem like sometimes Feyre glows, and she also has a powerful white light that she can use to kind of erupt from her. She also sometimes uses it to break spells, but sometimes she doesn't need it. Other people that we see with a white blinding light, again, not High Lords, but there are other people that we see that have it. The first one is Amarantha. So the quote is, then Rhys was on his feet, my bloody knife in his hands. He launched himself at Amarantha. Swift as a shadow, the ash dagger aimed at her throat. She lifted a hand, not even bothering to look, and he was blasted back by a wall of white light. So this is white light that has power, right? Next one, unsurprisingly, King of Hybern. So the king cut me off. I would suggest bracing yourselves. And then hell exploded in the hall. Power, white and unending and hideous, barreled into us. This is the blow that shreds Cassian's wings in the King of Hybern's palace. All right, next person, the Cauldron. All right, so the quotes here. For it was from the rocky outcropping that a battering ram of death white light hurtled for our army, just about level with the Illyrian Legion in the sky. That's ACOTAR chapter 70. And then this too. An unearthly female shriek broke from deep in the Hybern forces, a sister's warning and pain, just as that white light slammed into the bone carver. So that's the bone carver dying, right? So this white light clearly has the power of death behind it, not just blinding. It is actual explosive. The next one that we absolutely see on the page, there are a couple of people we see. Lucien says that his friend Nuan from Daycourt has this power, but we don't actually see that. So I'll mention it, but I don't really know what that looks like. The next person we see use a white blinding light like this is Nesta, right? So the quote there is white burning power shot out of her palm and slammed into his chest. That's when she's fighting the King of Hybern in chapter 74. We have Tamlin and Lucien kind of using white light, but it's not like this. It's kind of like a soft glow. So basically, Feyre occasionally has this white blinding light. We don't really know what it can do. And every other person that we see with this white blinding light has a deep connection to the Cauldron, right? I don't know what it is. I don't know. It could be something, could be nothing, classic Ronnie, but there's definitely threads of this in here. What do you think?
The common denominator seems to be, well, it's not Hybern really, right? It's because if it's Amarantha, Hybern, Cauldron, it could be Hybern or it could be the Cauldron itself. That's the common denominator of all of these. So I think the oddest one out to me actually of all of those in terms of trying to draw how they could be related is Amarantha. Like, how did Amarantha get white light?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, could be nothing. Could be nothing.
Could be nothing. Yeah. Yeah. The usage of flares of light in general across magic in this series, not just Feyre's, is inconsistent and perhaps intentionally confusing, but definitely confusing. Lucien uses white light, but he does not.
So
it's like a flare of light, and then he escapes, or he's got a gag of white light that actually is doing something in Tamlin's mouth. And then
something in Tamlin's mouth.
Gagging Tamlin. But we also know that Lucien has Helian's power. So that
exactly
it's hereditary in that regard. So
So there's inconsistencies among kind of this white light and how it's used. Again, could be something, could be nothing. But Feyre certainly has some kind of white light. Could just be as simple as glowing from Helion. Could be more connected to Amarantha, King of Hybern, Cauldron, and Nesta. Not sure.
But the glowing, even though we see Helion do it, I think we are called to question it because when Feyre asks Rhys whether it's from Helion, he says, I don't care. And he has been pretty forthcoming about where he thinks all of her gifts come from, but not that one.
Yeah, 100% agree. I 100% agree with that.
And he knows Helion pretty well, so you'd think.
Well, Helion does glow. We see Helion glow.
I know we see Helion glow.
Yeah, one time. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Anything else up there?
No, I mean you covered all of them. You went list by list. I mean, I think the important thing to distinguish in my notes is the traceability of her powers. So we have traceability of seemingly every power except for the occasional white light. And all of her powers trace to a High Lord of some type.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Ronnie, what is Feyre's connection to the cauldron?
Yes. Good transition. So Feyre is brought back to life, right? And so Feyre is said to have been made when the High Lords bring her back from the dead. And we hear this from Feyre, which is, Feyre just in her own head, but we also hear it confirmed by Amren, right? So Feyre says, I'd been made, resurrected, and given this new body by the 7 High Lords of Prythian. I wasn't Tamlin's mate yet as far as I knew. Amren later confirms this, and Amren basically recognizes her as made because she is made. And Amren says, only once before was a human made into an immortal. Interesting that it should happen again right as all the ancient players have returned. But Miriam was gifted long life, not a new body. And you, girl, she sniffed again, and I never felt so laid bare. Surprise lit Amren's eyes. Rhys just nodded, whatever that meant. I was tired already. I personally just think that's Amren recognizing that she's Rhys's mate.
Yeah, I think so.
Your very blood, your veins, your bones were made, a mortal soul in an immortal body. So we're given this definition of made as it pertains to Feyre in this capacity, and the High Lords together were able to bring her back to life. She had no interaction with the cauldron, right? This was not a Nesta or an Elain situation where she's like chucked into the cauldron, she comes out, and she's made. She's just made by these High Lords. So the cauldron, we're introduced to the cauldron in spring, right? We're told that the cauldron was the origin of this world, and that its contents were dumped into a void. And so that quote is, it began with a cauldron, a mighty black cauldron held by glowing, slender female hands in a starry, endless night. Those hands tipped it over, golden, sparkling liquid pouring out over the lip. No, not sparkling, but effervescent with small symbols, perhaps of some ancient fairy magic. Whatever was written there, whatever it was, the contents of the cauldron were dumped into the void below, pooling on the earth to form our world. So the cauldron is this vessel that made all things. So by this logic, if the cauldron made all things and Feyre is made, then whatever these 7 High Lords have together somehow produced the power of the cauldron. And we kind of get this confirmed when Feyre is tricked into touching the cauldron by Amren during the battle against Hybern. And she describes it as a living bond. She survives this cauldron, and this cauldron takes her over the course of the battle with it to see things. And so the point here is, even though Feyre never interacted with the cauldron at all in the process of being made, she was made and had this connection to the cauldron through being brought back to life by these 7 High Lords. So what about these 7 High Lords converges to the same power of the cauldron? I think that's the question. I don't
think that's the
necessarily
question.
have an answer, but I think that's the question and the connection.
I might have an answer.
Okay.
I don't know that it's all 7 High Lords.
Yeah.
I think it might be one in particular. So I want to talk about the Book of Breathings. I know this is a question about the cauldron. And yeah, just to reiterate what you said, on first read, this doesn't really make any sense, right? Feyre would have a connection to the cauldron when she has absolutely nothing to do with the cauldron with her kind of resurrection story. It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, Nesta and Elain make sense. This, not so much. Did we talk last episode about the Book of Breathings? Have we talked about the Book of Breathings? Or did I just do this in my notes and think we had a conversation about it? All right.
I think we talked about it a bit.
Oh, we talked about it with Rhys's family because of the Weaver. All right. So the Bone Carver thinks that Feyre should have a connection to the cauldron and the Book of Breathings because she was made, as you just mentioned. So the quote is, the book was believed harmless because like calls to like, and only that which was made can speak to those spells and summon its power. No creature born of the earth may wield it, so the High Lords and humans dismissed it as little more than a historical heirloom. But if the book were in the hands of something reforged, you would have to test the theory, of course, but it might be possible. The High Lords don't think that they can kind of have this book, use this book. So it's not, I don't think that they realize if they do have this connection to the cauldron, that they have a connection to the cauldron, or whether or not it's just one of them in particular. Like, I don't think they realize that they have this power, but in general, the book was seen as useless because nothing had been made for centuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we meet the book, there are a lot of parallels between the book and between Rhys.
Mm-hmm.
So how she feels the book. She says, I can feel it, I breathe, like a clawed hand running down my spine. Indeed, my skin tingled, hair standing on end beneath my warm leathers. When she meets Rhys, this is when he comes to the manor, she says, I couldn't move. An invisible, talon-tipped hand scraped against my mind, and I knew one push, one swipe of those mental claws, and who I was would cease to exist. So we have a clawed hand running down her spine for the book, and talon-tipped hands clawing against her mind, scraping down her mind when she meets Rhys. When she's looking for the book and the summer court, she says there's a thing in her chest, a power in her chest saying, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? When Rhys gets back to Valeris after Feyre has gone back to the spring court, he thinks, where is she? Where is she? Where is she? There's a lot of triplicates in Sarah J. Maas. She does this a lot. But those two are so similar that I think there's something there. She says the power of the book seduced her. She says, indeed, that power was filling the chamber, my head, my lungs, smothering and drowning and seducing. She specifically uses the word seduce. Obviously, she uses the word seduce with Rhys like a lot, right? Like Rhys is like constantly seducing her. I realize you're looking at me skeptically.
I hear what you're saying. But I think, so I went down this path too. I was like, are you saying that Rhys could have just brought her back?
No,
like,
but I'm saying that she has the connection to the Cauldron through Rhys. Something about Rhys has a connection to the Cauldron. And I think that's why she gets it. Not every High Lord, but because it's through Rhys.
Yeah. And that would work. But I guess then what and so maybe it's just, maybe independently, Rhys has a connection to the Cauldron. And these 7 High Lords have the power to bring somebody back to life.
Yeah, no, I don't think that Rhys has this resurrection power on his own. I don't think he can do that. I think you need the 7 High Lords to bring someone back. But I think she has the connection to the Cauldron because of Rhys. And we never really see Rhys interact with the Cauldron. So we don't really have an example of this, but like Rhys does not go to the palace in Hybern specifically because the King of Hybern can track his magic. So like we never get to see what it would have been like if Rhys had interacted with the Cauldron. Like they're always kind of kept apart, right? And then Rhys is on the battlefield while Feyre is dealing with the Cauldron. So could be nothing. Again, could be nothing.
So then why would they need Feyre or Nesta to be involved with tracking the Cauldron if Rhys is connected to it as well?
I don't know if Rhys knows. I don't know. I just don't know if Rhys knows he has this ability. And again, I could be wrong, but if Rhys is made, maybe he doesn't realize it. No matter what, they need Feyre to track the book, right? Because Feyre can pretend to be Tarkin, Rhys can't pretend to be Tarkin.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But having Nesta scry for the Cauldron specifically.
Yeah. I don't know. I could be wrong. He might not realize it.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
All right.
So, Abby, what is Feyre's beast form and what does Feyre see in the Ouroboros mirror?
All right. So, I just want to start with some context with the Ouroboros.
Yes.
And some interesting kind of connections I found here. All right. So, the Bone Carver calls the Ouroboros a window to the world. The Serial calls it the mirror of beginnings and endings, right? So we kind of have two different names for it. We have a quote about it. It was old even when we were young, a window to the world. All could be seen, all could be told through its dark surface. Kier possesses it, an heirloom of his household. Bring it to me. That is my price, the Ouroboros, and I am yours to wield if you can find a way to free me. So that's what the Bone Carver says to Feyre. Fun little side note here, right? We talked about Bryaxis and the Bone Carver in a different episode, but the Bone Carver asks for the Ouroboros to fight in this war against Hybern from Feyre, calls it a window to the world. Bryaxis just asks for a straight up window, right? So both of them are looking for a window for whatever reason, which I thought was a fun little tie.
Or say they're looking for a window.
The
Bone Carver just straight up doesn't want it when he has the ability to use it.
It's not really what he's after.
Yeah.
To take the Ouroboros, to claim it, you must first look into it. He headed for the doors, not wanting to be dismissed. This is Kier talking. And everyone who's attempted to do so has either gone mad or been broken beyond repair, even a High Lord or two, if legend is true. So it is yours if you dare to face it. This is Kier telling Feyre about the Ouroboros in the Court of Nightmares. What I thought was interesting about this is this idea that looking upon it is madness. You called out this quote, I think, in our Amarantha episode. Feyre says something similar about Amarantha. So she says, while her ebony's eyes shone, there was something that sucked at her beauty, some kind of permanent sneer to her features that made her allure seem contrived and cold. To paint her would have driven me to madness. So I think that's just a fun idea to think about. Might there be a connection between Amarantha and the Ourobouros? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. All right. So Feyre decides to retrieve the Ouroboros the night before the battle. With Hybern, she describes it. She says, and there against the far wall of the chamber, snow crushing its surface, its bronze casing, it was a massive round disc as tall as I was, taller, and the metal around it had been fashioned after a massive serpent, the mirror held within its coils as it devoured its own tail. So it's a large disc. It does not actually reflect things, right? She says it has a dark surface. It is not a mirror you could do your makeup in. Like it's not really a mirror. It's kind of like a window to the world, as the bone carver said.
Mm-hmm.
So then we get this description of her beast form. I guess we should talk about this. It's not confirmed that this is her beast form. I'm just kind of assuming this is her beast form.
Well, she describes it as herself, right? And
Right.
before we move off of that, can we just, maybe this is obvious to everybody, but I just feel like it's worth pointing out in case you don't know. Like, I only know of this because of the term Ouroboros financing. Ouroboros is a snake that eats itself. So the surrounding frame of this mirror is an Ouroboros snake, right? And this mirror is said to drive anybody who looks into it mad, except for apparently a select few. And so this mirror is effectively a mirror that forces you to destroy yourself or overcome yourself. One of the two. So I actually think it's a really cool name for a mirror. But yes, I hear what you're saying. Like Feyre, I think she uses the exact words. She says it's what lurks beneath my skin. Yeah. Is it her beast form? I don't know. But it's what lurks beneath her skin.
Right. Yeah. So we're assuming it's her beast form. That is not 100% confirmed, but I feel pretty good about it. All right. So the description of it is crawling down the snow-kissed wall, a massive beast of claws and scales and fur and shredding teeth inched towards the floor. Toward me, some guardian of this place, some creature that had crawled in through the cracks. Its enormous paws were near silent on the floor, the fur on them a blend of black and gold. Not a beast designed to hunt in these mountains, certainly not with the ridge of dark scales down its back and the large, shining eyes. I didn't have time to remark on those blue-gray eyes as the beast pounced. So I don't have a firm answer on what this is. I don't know what this is, but I think there's a couple interesting kind of questions we can ask, parallels we can draw. So first thing, claws and scales and fur and shredding teeth. Nesta describes Rhys's beast form in her mind as having claws and scales and teeth. So I think that's drawing a connection to Rhys, saying they're kind of the same underneath their skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're of the same ilk, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Nesta also, when she goes into the cauldron, tears at it with claws and teeth and talons. So it's like something about these Archeron girls. They have claws and teeth and talons at their most basic form. Feyre describes this as a creature that had crawled in through the cracks. This one's kind of a stretch. This sounds to me, she's talking about like where she is in the Immune City.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds to me kind of like the rips in the universe that we know that Amryn fell through. I don't know that that's what it's supposed to sound like. But she says specifically it's not a beast designed to hunt in these mountains. We don't know a lot about the like topography, the geography of Prythian, but like, does she mean this is like literally not a beast of this world? Is this from somewhere else? We talked about Archeron family deep dive last week. Like we don't know a lot about their family. Like could they have somehow come from another world many, many eons ago as well? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have a firm answer on that one. That was kind of my only idea on the beast. The only other thing that I thought was interesting about this mirror was she actually says she goes into the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, I did not know how long had passed time it had been different inside the mirror. So like we don't see her go and step into the mirror or anything, but she says time had been different inside the mirror. I don't know if that means just like looking at herself, she lost track of time, or if we're dealing with some kind of altered plane of reality here.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I had.
Mirror of Erised vibes, for sure.
Oh my God, huge Mirror of Erised vibes.
Yeah. I have a couple additional ideas, but it's in the same vein, right? I interpreted what she is looking at as her beast form. Whether she ever shifts into it or not, like, I don't know. I don't really think it matters, honestly. But like you said, it's a beast with a fur that is a blend of black and gold and has a ridge of dark scales down its back that continues over its tail, right? So she's got this like wolf, lion, wyvern type mix going on.
She has scales and fur.
She has scales and fur, which we've not seen necessarily any beast form, even that we've seen of other High Lords take that sort of form. And so I want to talk about Tamlin's and Rhys's forms as well, because you called out Rhys's form already. Rhys's beast form, which we see right in the battle against Hybern, the description is The talons came first, replacing fingers and feet. Then dark scales, or perhaps feathers, I couldn't get a look at them, covered his legs, his arms, his chest. His body contorted, bones and muscles growing and shifting. The beast form Rhys had kept hidden, never liked to unleash, unless it was dire enough to do so. Before the cauldron swept me away, I beheld what happened to his head, his face. It was a thing of nightmares. Nothing human or fey in it. It was a creature that lived in black pits and only emerged at night to hunt and feast. The face, it was those creatures who had been carved into the rock of the Court of Nightmares that made up his throne. So the Court of Nightmares has tons of imagery of scaled black beasts carved into the Court of Nightmares with claws, talons, fangs, just like you said, right? So I think it does point to her connection to Rhys. Tamlin's beast form is a gigantic beast with golden fur. So that beast had to be large as a horse, his body somewhat feline, his head distinctly wolfish, and also had dagger-like claws and yellow fangs. So this is a little bit more of a literary tilt, but I think this could be Feyre looking at herself in a deeper way, right? We're said that she has a mortal heart in an immortal body. Is she now seeing like that she is partially still her human self that loved Tamlin, like Feyre as a human loved Tamlin, and now her Fey self is with Rhys, loves Rhys, is Rhys's mate. Like, is she basically seeing a blend of her as a human and a blend of what she is as now High Fey?
Yeah, I love
know.
that idea. And that's why it's got black and gold fur too, right? Because the gold is like her human.
Yeah,
I love that.
The gold is like her, Tamlin Fey side, because Rhys has got to be something else. Yeah.
And I like that too because it fits in with the Carver, because what fascinates the Carver about her is that she's something new, right? Like she is both human and Fey. And if what he wanted her to do was basically like accept that, then I think that totally works.
Yeah. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but like Amarantha only knows that Feyre will be able to help her with the cauldron by herself after she knows that Feyre was able to overcome the Ouroboros. So was that just because Feyre mentally could overcome the Ouroboros, or was it related to what she actually is? Like, is there something specific about what you have to be to make it out of the Ouroboros that made Amren confident, like, Feyre can just do this cauldron thing by herself? I do not need Nesta. I don't know.
Cool. All right.
Cool. Anything else on that one? Okay. Wow, that was quick. Well, it felt quick, but it's been an hour. Okay. Well, that was our ACOTAR only section of this podcast. We will now be getting into Maasverse spoilers. So if you have not read all of Throne of Glass and all of Crescent City, we love you. Please leave or stay, but you are going to be spoiled. And as Abby mentioned, I think in the future we'll be trying to mark the chapters with the series spoilers specifically. Yeah. So if we don't get into both series, we'll mark it as such so that you can come back and look at that specific chapter. That is unfortunately the closest we're going to get to splitting up the Maasverse section. So here we go. Final warning. Throne of Glass spoilers, Crescent City spoilers, ACOTAR spoilers. Love you, bye to everybody else. Okay. All right. Abby, do you have any corrections, omissions, or social media shout-outs for Maasverse only? COSMs.
Yes, I have. As you guys know, I'm doing my Throne of Glass reread, and I will occasionally find things that I think enhance previous theories that we've had. So I was reading the section in Queen of Shadows where they go into the Temple of Truth underneath Rifthold, which is the temple full of bones. They realize it's been around for super long, and there's all these word marks on the wall behind the altar. Mm-hmm. The word marks Elain is able to read, and it's talking about the Valg kings, and it says to look upon a Valg king was to gaze into madness, despair. I don't know that symbol. So we don't have confirmation on what that symbol is, but Elain says it could be madness. Almost word for word what is said about Amarantha when Feyre sees Amarantha, right? And we read that quote before, but basically to paint her would drive Feyre to madness. It's just kind of canon in my mind at this point that Amarantha and the King of Hybern are absolutely 100% Valg. Like, I just think that the more you look for it, the more evidence there is. And then I have one social media shout out. Sorry, I did not write the name down, but this goes back to our Rhys's family episode. We were talking about Rhys's mom seeing the future using Bloodbane. Someone commented, said, "Oh, will Elain use Bloodbane in the next book to see the future too?" I think that's a fun idea. Maybe she could. Yeah. So just the idea if Elain is going to use Bloodbane in the next book. I think she might. Yeah.
That would be fun. Imagine if that comes true. That's a fun thing for somebody to have on record out there in the universe that they thought that was going to happen.
Yeah. I wish I hold on. I can get their name real quick.
I think I started experimenting with the video dubbing. I think I can get it in.
Okay, cool.
If you tell me. We'll just say it so that I have it.
Give me 2 seconds. That was Deandra Marisi.
Deandra Marisi. Okay, perfect. Yay. It's weird. I'm like breathing lighter now that we're in Maasverse because I hate everything that's not.
I can't fucking tell you how stressful this is.
I hate everything that's not.
Like trying to navigate the minefield that is spoilers and have coherent theories and actually say what we think is happening. Like,
yeah,
I can't. Yeah, this is hard. This is really hard. We're doing our best, guys.
Okay. Any other COSMs?
No. Do you have any COSMs?
I have a couple COSMs. One was, so last week, this is just a fun anecdote for everybody who doesn't live in podcast world. So I try to edit our first one right after we finish, and I was listening
which is wild,
back to,
guys.
What?
Because we record for 5 to 6 hours, and then Ronnie sits down and starts fucking editing these episodes. So kudos to Ronnie because it's fucking crazy.
At like 10 o'clock every weeknight. Like I'm left with limited options. So I edit it right afterwards, and we talked last episode about Rhys's mother and sister and why they would be sent to Midgard. And I was editing this episode and I was like, oh my gosh, Abby. I like texted you a bunch of just random BS. And maybe it's not interesting, but I want to talk about it. So in last episode, we talked about Rhys's mother and sister dying and thinking about, could they have potentially made it to another world? Could they have potentially made it over to Midgard? So we know that the Valg, the Asteri, and the Princes of Hell, if they're all different, if they're all the same, regardless, like to crossbreed experimental beings. Examples, witches, the Illyrians, Hunt Athlar, Thunderbirds, like kind of endless, in my opinion, the number of experimental crossbreeds they've come up with. They're big on breeding. And we also talked about how we think it's possible for Rhys's mother and sister to be alive in another world, and could Tamlin have helped them by using his shifting powers. But we don't really have like a motive for Tamlin to have helped Rhys's mother and sister escape, except for just like love for Rhys. But like why would he have sent them away? Like what would have been the intent? It just felt like a little bit of a broken story. And so I think there's 3 things that I think we forgot to consider. I don't know whether these are right, but I just want to put them out into the universe. 1, Tamlin's father likely also had this shifting power. That's 1. 2, the Spring Court was allied with both Hybern and the Autumn Court, right? And the Autumn Court are the Fae that migrated to Midgard. So there's an alliance between Spring and Autumn went over there. And 3, that Lauren was specifically selected by the Autumn King for breeding. Was Tamlin's father involved in sending over either Rhys's mother or sister, I think it's probably sister, for the purposes of breeding?
Because she's Starborn.
She's Starborn and she has Daemati blood. So she was Illyrian, which was a desirable quality by like the Valg and the Asteri. Like they bred it, right? Or the Asteri at least. Where I'm assuming they're the same, but the Asteri. She's Daemati and she's Starborn. Could she?
Well, we don't know that she's Daemati, but she at least has a Daemati bloodline. Yeah.
But Rune is Daemati, so whoever was sent, like Lauren had the Daemati blood.
Yeah.
So, like, she has all of these appealing genetic qualities. Was she sent over there for the purposes of breeding Rune? Because we know that Einar had this kind of obsession with the Fae regaining their power.
Einar is the Autumn King, guys. He's not mentioned by name.
Yes.
Much.
Sorry. Yes. The Autumn King is obsessed with the Fae regaining their power.
Okay.
And
so
was
just
studying different worlds. Like he had an orrery. Orrery? He had the thing that shows the different realms.
And Rhys has one too. So like Rhys might suspect that this is the case. I think this is a really interesting theory. And I just want to say it back to you to make sure that I'm getting it. This is like the first time I felt revved up this whole episode. Fuck yeah, let's go. We're in Maasverse. All right. Tamlin did not save Rhys's mother and sister. Tamlin might have had nothing to do with this. Tamlin's father kidnapped, maybe killed Rhys's mother, kidnapped Rhys's sister, glamored her mind, shifted her wings, sent her to Midgard to specifically breed with the Autumn King because she is Starborn and because the Autumn King wanted a Starborn heir. We know she's
Yes.
Starborn. Go back to our Rhys's family deep dive. She is just descended of Selene of Vesperus. She is Starborn. He wanted a Starborn heir. Obviously, it didn't really work that well, right? Because Rune does not, whatever. We can get into that later. I actually think we'll get into that in the next episode.
Yes.
But Rune is Starborn.
Like, that's why, I think that's an important point, though. Like, that's why Rune is
Starborn. Which means Ember needs to be Starborn.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. Like,
we could be.
We forgot about the breeding and about Tamlin's father and about the alliance with the Autumn Court.
And I love this theory because Eris knows so
Eris
much. Eris knows so much that he shouldn't know about the about the Daglin. Like, if the Autumn Court has maintained this ability, this knowledge of how to open these portals. Yeah. Yeah, it could work. Be crazy.
I went from like 50-50 Lauren is either Rhys's mother or sister, I think sister, to now like 80-20. Like,
oh my God, I hope she writes this. I hope this happens. This is so good.
Sarah J. Maas, if you are listening, we need this plotline. Yes. So
okay. And that's wild. And that explains Tamlin's guilt because Tamlin also thinks they're dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But this plotline didn't need to stop with Lauren, right? We know that Baron is like wishy-washy in his loyalty to Prythian versus Hybern. Tamlin has been in league with Hybern. Like, if they are both tempted of this promise of building a fresh world for the Fae in Midgard, which is not the first time that would have been used, then they absolutely might be pitching over some individuals for breeding, especially Daemati High Lord lineage that they deemed otherwise unfit to participate in politics.
Okay, cool. And the King of Hybern is Valg, so he knows how to open these portals. King of Hybern could have been involved. Like, he was around. I love it.
Okay.
And this is why you need to read the Maasverse. Just like
this is why you need to read the Maasverse. Okay. The second omission, this is just from the prior part. This is a little bit whack, a little bit off the rails, but like I said, Amren realizes that Feyre can help her harness the cauldron by herself once she has mastered the Ouroboros. She says, the Suriel gave you a message for me, only me. She basically confesses to lying. She says, I thought I need your sisters to help you control the cauldron, but after you faced the Ouroboros, I knew you could do it. Just you and just me. Because when you unbind me with the cauldron's power, in my real form, I will wipe that army away. We know that the cauldron is originally from Prythian, but was warped by the Asteri. And we also theorize that Rhys is Starborn, therefore part Asteri, and Starborn is just having Asteri in your bloodline. Feyre then sees herself in the Ouroboros as effectively as a blend of Tamlin's and Rhys's beast forms. Is this a blend of a Fae shifter and an Asteri beast? And is that why she was able to wield the cauldron by herself? Is because the cauldron is of the Fae, warped by the Asteri, and so is Feyre.
Maybe.
I
do think, and we'll talk about this, but like there is this fundamental issue, but I actually think I have an answer for it, but it's not coming till our next episode, of Rhys is certainly Starborn by blood, right? I think we've proven that. I'm 100% convinced by that. But he does not seem to have the Starborn ability. He does not have any recollection or any notion of the Starborn line existing in Prythian, right? There is no Starborn line in Prythian. Why is this thing that exists so heavily in Midgard, but not Prythian when it should? We know that Selene went back to Prythian. We know that her son had the Starborn power, right? She says no one would know that the infant that glowed had the power of the evening star, right? That is the Starborn power. What has happened to that power? Where has it gone? Why has this been lost? I think that is a question. I think I have an answer, but it's coming in our next episode. But I think we need to just keep that in the back of our minds.
I'm into it. All right. Shall we head into Maasverse?
Yes.
Who is the faceless woman in Feyre's dreams who slits her throat? So Feyre has a dream after she tracks down the Suriel and Tamlin saves her from the Naga. She's still human at this time. This is in a court of thorns and roses. And the dream was about a woman killing her. And this dream is, I jerked awake in the middle of the night, panting. My dreams had been filled with the clicking of the Suriel's bone fingers, the grinning Naga, and a pale, faceless woman dragging her blood-red nails across my throat, splitting me open bit by bit. She kept asking for my name, but every time I tried to speak, my blood bubbled out of the shallow wounds on my neck, choking me. She then wakes up, Feyre wakes up, and there is a fairy from Summer being brought into the Springcourt Manor with his wings cut off. So I'll just go into like the simplest and most like literarily acceptable theory associated with this, and then we can talk about like maybe whether it might be something else. We are led to believe this is Amarantha. That's interesting because Feyre has never seen Amarantha, has never met her, and she is human. I say all of that. There is one woman with red nails in this series, and it is Amren. And Amren, I don't know how you feel about Amren. We haven't really talked about her much. We have a whole episode on her coming, so we don't need to talk about her much here. But she has done some like suspicious things. She like tricks Feyre into almost being killed by the Cauldron. She's generally very like reserved, standoffish, like you don't want to mess with her. She tries to get the group to hide Nesta's ability to make items from Nesta. She tries to convince Rhys to be High King. Like, Amren is
duplicitous.
Like she might have something else going on. Do I think do I know whether that will play out? I don't know. And obviously, like, she gave up herself seemingly and came back as just plain old High Fae. But I looked through the other books for, people with red nails. Like, who else could this be? I'm sure you have a better idea. My thought is this foreshadowing that Amren is going to eventually be a problem for us? I don't know.
I did have a different thought, but I think that's interesting because Amren's character is obviously like very, very complex. I think that this faceless woman is Vesperus.
Okay.
And the reason why I wanted to leave this question and the reason why I said we had to have this question is because if this is Vesperus, then Sarah J. Maas has been planning Vesperus since fucking ACOTAR, which is wild. Which is wild.
Yeah.
Right. That is 8 books and 2 series of planning.
Yeah.
The reason why I think that this could be Vesperus. So first of all, as I mentioned, Rhys does not recognize this woman, right? I do think he would recognize Amren too, right? Like, I realize she's faceless. I realize there's not a lot to go off of here. But he says, you were dreaming. I was in your dream, watching as you had a nightmare about some woman slitting your throat. He does not know who this woman is, right? He doesn't know who Vesperus is, but he knows who Amren is, Amarantha is. Vesperus, as we talked about at great length in our Rhys's Family Deep Dive, is a dreamwalker, right? I know that's not what you call it in this series, but she can see the world through dreams. She walks into other people's dreams. She says in her dream, she sees Thea dance upon the stones above me, dance upon my grave while I starve beneath my feet. She says they have a place in this land for creatures like me, the unwanted. It is called the Middle. I have dreamt of it, seen it in my long slumber. So she can travel this world in dreams. Not clear if it's through other people's dreams or if she's just like kind of a ghost wandering the plains or something, but like she gets knowledge about the world through people's dreams. She does not have blood red nails, but she does have blowjob red lips. That's an exact quote from our Lord and Savior Bryce Quinlan, right? So we are drawn to these red lips. Nothing about her nails, does not say anything about her nails, but she has these really, really bright red lips that make Bryce say like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's funny.
That's my leading theory, that this is Vesperus and that Sarah J. Maas is a fucking genius, basically, and has just been planning this for so long. That's what I think.
Interesting. And why, I guess it doesn't matter, because this could definitely just be the case regardless of whether we know or we will find out, but why this early do you think Vesperus would be
in
haunting
Feyre's
dreams? Yeah.
There's a quote, I'm coming up with this on the fly, I don't have these written down. There's a quote, Amren at one point refers to Rhys and Feyre and Nesta and Elain as, it's not exactly players in the ancient game, which is obviously the exact Throne of Glass quote, but it's very similar to that. It's like, she's like, all the ancient players are coming back or something, right? And we know in Throne of Glass that quote is in book 1 of Throne of Glass, right? Like the gods are watching over Selena.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a similar thing with Feyre, where it's like there was always kind of this path for her. She was always kind of fated. It was always going to go this way. I don't know if we're going to get that reveal. We didn't get that reveal in Throne of Glass until book 8, maybe? Yeah. I don't remember exactly when it happens, right? But like, maybe it's Empire Storms. Maybe it's book 5. But like, we could still be going in that direction. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It would be interesting for Feyre to come back in that like level of importance too. I guess we didn't read Throne of Glass as it was coming out, but that must have been a slog. If you were finishing one of those books and then waiting for the next one, it probably took years for you to see a plotline like the one that you're talking about come to fruition.
Sarah J. Maas mentions the spider Selene being a potential shifter in book 4. It happens in book 8.
Yeah.
Like, this girl plans like Taylor Swift. That's the only
Yeah.
comparison I have. The plotting and the planning is insane.
Yeah.
And it's completely dropped. You don't hear about it again until Selene comes back as a fucking shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of wild. So let me see if I can find that quote. Give me 2 seconds.
I have it. So it was actually the quote when Amren was confirming that Feyre was made. Only once before was a human made into an immortal. Interesting that it should happen again, right as all the ancient players have returned.
And the quote in Throne of Glass, I believe this is from memory, guys, but it's all the players in the ancient game are returning, right? Could be the same fucking game.
Yeah.
Probably is. Like,
and that's maybe just a plug for the fact that, like, we really don't know chronologically how all of these series occurred. Like, we don't know whether they're in sequence. We don't know whether they're happening in parallel. All we know or are hinted towards is that time is the 26th realm. So time maybe doesn't fucking matter.
well, I think we get a couple hints, but we're not going to get into it in this episode. But yeah, we don't know. Obviously, there's key moments. Bryce shows up in Prithian and Elain falls through the sky. But we don't know if there is like a time-space continuum or just a space continuum, basically.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Great.
It was good.
Great question. Great discussion, in my opinion.
Okay, Abby, is Feyre Starborn?
All right, guys, I apologize for my fucking word salad during the Cauldron question. I realized that was not my strongest answer. The reason for that being is because of this question. Like, yes, Feyre is Starborn, but she's Starborn because she has Rhys's power, right? So Rhys gave her a kernel of her power. We talked about Rhys being Starborn at length. That kernel of her power, of his power, gives her the Starborn ability. That is why she has a connection to the Cauldron, because the Asteri corrupted the Cauldron. Rhys is of the Asteri bloodline. That is the connection. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think we need to dive into Rhys's Starborn bloodline again. Basically, we know he's Starborn because he's Selene's descendant and the prison gates open for him and no one else, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about Feyre having this white light that is seemingly unaccounted for. I think this is Bryce's Starborn power. But I think, interestingly, so just some quotes to compare. We're going back to when Feyre was battling Eris. She said, "I didn't give Eris time to read my move. I sucked in a sharp breath. White, blinding light erupted from me. Eris swore, and I ran." From Bryce exploded. White, blinding light ruptured from her, unleashed from that secret place in her heart. Word for word, the same. White, blinding light, right? Erupted. Yep. White, blinding light. It might be that it is only that white, blinding light that Bryce has at the beginning of Crescent City and not the full power that Bryce kind of gets at the end. Again, I think we'll get into that. But whatever these Starborn abilities are that Feyre has, they're clearly not as powerful as what Bryce has. And again, clearly no one knows about it. And the reason why Hybern and Amarantha and the Cauldron and Nesta all have it too is because if the Valg and the Asteri are the same thing, then they have this power. Right. Yeah. But the Cauldron is the source of it, right? Like the Cauldron and the Asteri power is the source of it. That's why we see Nesta only once, but use a white blinding light to push back Hybern. Obviously, the similarities, Feyre glowing when her and Rhys have sex, Bryce glows when her and Hunt have sex. Like there's just a lot of parallels. One thing that I think is important here, and we'll talk about this more in the next episode too, but Bryce in Crescent City 3, when she takes that second third of her Starborn power from the prison, that is not Selene's Starborn power. That is Thea's Starborn power, right? Yeah. I think that's a little bit confusing, but Selene has a third of Thea's Starborn power because Thea has split it up between Selene, Helena, and herself, right? So the mother gets a third of it, and the daughters each get a third. But the daughters also have their own Starborn power. Bryce takes Thea's Starborn power from the prison. That is the Starborn power that Selene is able to transfer to the prison through the harp. It's not Selene's power herself. So Selene's power, unaccounted for at the moment. Like, Rhys should have it, but I don't think he does, seemingly.
I think this was one of those things where I kind of earmarked it, and because I feel like we should talk about it in a more dedicated manner later, but I think we should talk about this like morning star and evening star concept, because you're right, like Selene's power is unaccounted for. It's passed through Rhys's line, and Rhys has a lot of like starry elements, but he is darkness, right?
Yeah.
Like he's dark, not light.
Yeah.
And Feyre, whatever she receives from him, interestingly, is light. Like, I don't know how, like, this. I'm also still in the middle of my Crescent City reread, so this very well could become obvious to me in like the next week or two. But like this morning star concept and evening star concept, and like how important the light is to being starborn. I don't know if I like fully understand that yet, but I feel like there's a difference between these people with like the power of night and the power of starlight.
I totally agree with you. I don't think it is clear. Do you want to know what's really interesting? I didn't bring this up in the Rhys episode, but you saying morning star and evening star, this triggered my mind. I was looking up Vesperus, the actual name Vesperus, and what it means. I don't remember. I don't remember.
So Hesperus does mean evening star.
Hesperus means evening star. Yeah. But according to Wikipedia, and Hesperus and Vesperus, they're both Asteri. They seemingly are on different places, and they both claim the name of the evening star. In some cultures, Vesperus is called Lucifer, and Lucifer's last name is Morningstar, right? Yeah. Lucifer Morningstar. Yeah. So, like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah. And you know who else's name means Morningstar?
Who?
If you don't already know this, you're going to...
I don't.
Take a moment. Danica. Again, probably not for now.
I think this is really interesting. Danica, this just popped into my mind, is the heiress of Crescent City in that she knows so much fucking more than she should, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Let me see.
So she's Starborn.
She's Starborn. That's basically it. I have one other interesting thing here. Feyre specifically says her power reacts to Ramiel. So in Mist and Fury chapter 15, the quote is, "There, like the eternal guardians of the city, towered a wall of flat-top mountains of red stone, the same stone that had been used to build some of the structures. They curved around the northern edge of Valeris to where the river bent towards them and flowed into their shadow. The mountains behind me, they were sleeping giants, somehow alive, awake, as if in answer. That undulating, slithering power slid along my bones like a cat brushing against my leg for attention." So we know that Ramiel was really important to the Asteri, right? So Ramiel is pictured in the carvings underneath the prison. We also see the vision with Selene in the prison of Thea and Fionn on top of Ramiel with two figures cloaked in shadow. We don't know who those people were, but with the cauldron on top of Ramiel. And then it kind of fades to black. We don't know what happens. But I think that is Feyre's Starborn power reacting to something in Ramiel. I don't know if it's the monolith on top. I don't know if it's the mountain itself, but we will get there.
Well, and I don't have the quote prepped, but I'm pretty sure Selene explicitly tells us that those three peaks sit on top of like pockets of Asteri power, right?
There's Asteri power under the prison. Yeah. There's a core under the prison. I don't know if that's what... I don't remember if that's what Bryce takes or not. But yes, those three peaks. So the barren peaks. So we have the sacred mountain, we have Ramiel, and we have the prison as the Asteri peaks, basically. All right. What did you have for this one?
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, I think like maybe the only clarifying point I would make is like I think she has Asteri power because she was given a kernel of Rhys's, but I don't think we have anything to indicate that she was born that way, aside from the fact that Rhys was connected to her somehow, whether that was just fate, whether that was really power coming from Rhys, from the cauldron, like, I don't know, but she was obviously destined to be connected to the Starborn in some way because she's Rhys's mate, but I think the reason that she has Asteri power is because of Rhys.
I agree. I don't think it's a bloodline thing, but how interesting that her and now both her sisters too are going to have it because they were made in the cauldron. And she got it from Rhys.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I agree. And I mean, there's so like more for our listeners than anything. Like there is so much commentary about her light being star imagery. She was the star. Rhys was the night. She has starlight. Like it's all over the place as soon as you start looking for it. So it's not just in our heads.
It's not just in our heads. And these three series, are almost not series. It is almost just one fucking series as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't know. Like it's just the same story. I think Throne of Glass maybe a little less so, but
I kind of think we've yet to see the convergence in Throne of Glass, but we've got enough crossover.
All right.
Okay.
Last question.
Yes. So the last question we asked ourselves is, why does Feyre refer to herself as a wolf? There is so much wolf imagery, not just for Feyre, honestly. There's a fair amount for Nesta too.
Yeah.
But so much wolf imagery. So I'll just like rattle off some of the important points and then we should talk about like what it all could mean and why. First, Feyre's whole story starts with her killing a wolf. So right off the bat, we're in wolfy territory. Amarantha sets her trials for once every full moon, right? Like how interesting that Feyre needs to basically transform into this human that is able to achieve these crazy feats every full moon. Like that is very, very wolfy. She says, I'll tell you have one task every month at the full moon. Feyre also gets a Phases of the Moon tattoo when she makes a bargain with Briaxis to keep him company in exchange for his help in the war with Hybern.
I think it's a bone carver. I think she gets the tattoo from the bone carver.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, sorry. When she makes a bargain with the bone carver. The thing that I didn't like about that is that Ianthe also has a Faces of the Moon tattoo. Do you remember that?
Yeah, on her forehead.
Yeah, so don't love that. But yeah, Feyre has Faces of the Moon tattoo. Also interesting, like, why does Ianthe, right? Like, Ianthe is a priestess. Like, what about her being a priestess makes that important? But more literally, right, Feyre describes herself as a wolf when stealing from the Weaver. 3 times, like literally 3 times says, I was a wolf. I am a wolf. I bit when cornered. She also describes herself as a wolf when she comes back to her parents' estate as a way of saying that she's like kind of unnatural there. So she says, seated before the carved marble sitting room hearth, my hood on, hands outstretched towards the roaring fire, I felt like they had let in a wolf. So she's like almost feeling like unnatural, foreign, predatory in her family's home. She creates water wolves when she's fighting in battle. So she basically creates her own little pack and she sees a wolf in the Ouroboros. We've already talked about that at length. She's a shifter. She hasn't, I don't think, shifted into anything like a wolf yet in this series, but we know that she has the ability to because she can shift into whatever she pleases and understands. I think the last thing that is kind of a parallel to Feyre being wolfy, particularly alpha-y, is the fact that she is the protector in her family. She protects everybody. She has an intense need to do so that she can't really sate or let go of very easily. And so she, in a way, is like the alpha of her family pack, right? If Nesta is a wolf, Elain is a wolf, then Feyre is definitely the alpha despite being the youngest, insofar as her protecting the others, not necessarily, emotionally leading the pack necessarily. So Rhys calls her a wolf as well.
The Weaver also calls her a wolf.
Yes. Yeah. The Weaver does too. Yes. Rhys says, remember that you are a wolf. You cannot be caged. So the whole Starborn business and Crescent City, right? I think we've already talked briefly about, I think there's going to be this concept of like morning and evening star that take hold here. We know that Feyre is Starborn and Danica, who is an alpha wolf in Crescent City, has a name that literally means morning star. I'm not saying that this is necessarily connected, but like we don't know much about Feyre's lineage. I think because I don't have ironclad proof at this point, but I think that the Shifter Fae are sourced from
Aurelia.
Yes, Aurelia, however you pronounce it.
Oh boy. One of those.
Yeah, one of those. And so could like her lineage be from either Midgard or Aurelia? I don't know.
So yes, I said the same thing. So Nesta is also described as a wolf a couple times. I want to just talk through that. So it says, so Nesta, this is Silver Flames chapter 4. So Nesta had become a wolf, armed herself with invisible teeth and claws, and learned to strike faster, deeper, more lethally, had relished it. Rhys says it's those teeth and claws that let her take something from the Cauldron. We talked about that a bit, but this idea of Nesta being a wolf, Nesta and Feyre both being wolves, right? It was always that way between them. Elain, sweet and oblivious, and Nesta, the snarling wolf at her side, poised to shred anyone who threatened her. Poor Elain. Elain is just like, I don't know. We'll find
for
out.
Her story because she does get wrecked.
Me too. Nesta is a wolf who has been locked in a cage her whole life. I know Cassian said she was a wolf who had never learned how to be a wolf thanks to the cage humans called propriety and society. You only think you know, you haven't seen her on the dance floor. That's when Nesta truly lets the wolf roam free when there's music. This idea that both Nesta and Feyre are wolves. Yes, we have the wolves in Crescent City. I like this idea of Morning Star and Evening Star kind of coming together and being important. I really love that. Their is a woman in Throne of Glass world who is also referred to herself as a wolf. And we almost never talk about her, but I want to talk about her now. Kaltain Rompier. Is that how you say her name?
Sure. I don't know.
Let's just summarize Kaltain's story real quick because she is actually a very important character, but she doesn't get talked about that much. So basically, she is at first portrayed as this like vapid girl. She wants to marry Dorian. She lets Lord Parrington take her to court to meet Dorian, but she's planning to ditch Parrington. Parrington, of course, we later find out is Erewhon. He captures Kaltain. He puts the word key in her arm, and she ends up with a power called Shadowfire. And she destroys Morath, basically. She becomes this really badass, and she actually defeats the demon, the Valg prince that is inside her. She defeats him. She's the only one, I think, who ever does that. She's fucking wild. Yeah. And she defeats him. She calls herself a wolf a couple times. So the quotes are, she had once believed that she'd been born to be queen. She had since learned that she'd been born to be a wolf. The Duke had even put a collar on her like a dog and had shoved a demon prince inside her. She was a wolf. She was death, devourer of worlds. Nesta is also called death all the time, right? So now we have Kaltain, Nesta, and Feyre all being called wolves. I want to talk about this Shadowfire idea because Kaltain says she had always had fire, but the word key corrupted her fire and made it Shadowfire. We've talked about why all of the Archeron sisters get turned into Fae, become Fae when they're not Fae originally, right? And when Jurian doesn't. Why does Nesta come out of the cauldron with silver flames, right? Feyre says the power of the cauldron is fire, ice, light, and dark, deluge, and drought. It is not just flames, but Nesta comes out of the cauldron with this power of silver flames. Feyre also obviously has flames, right? I am wondering, and this is wackadoodle. I'm saying this right now. This is wackadoodle. But is there something in the Archeron lineage that also had this flame power? And in the same way that the word key changed Kaltain's flame power into Shadowfire, the cauldron changed Nesta's power into silver flames. I don't know why this happened with Nesta and not Feyre, but is this actually, rather than a connection to a wolf, a connection to Kaltain? And, flames, potentially Elain too, Like, I don't know. Haven't figured that out.
Yeah. But I think it could be, I mean, if the cauldron is naturally the powers of Prythian, then we have those courts and we have flame as a power. And if it was corrupted by the Asteri, then maybe what Nesta took was corrupted flames. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's described very differently from Aelin's power. Like her power is described more akin to the Autumn Court flames, obviously far more powerful. Yeah. But it's interesting. Like if it was corrupted and turned deadly, turned to death flames, then that would be consistent with both Kaltain's and Nesta's.
Yeah. And Shadowfire is it's kind of similar to Nesta's power. It's not cold or anything, but at first, before she like fully erupts, you just feel the burn, but you're not actually being burnt. So it's this idea of like fire, but not quite fire. That I thought was there are other wolves that are mentioned in Throne of Glass. So Adian is known as the Northern Wolf. Fenris obviously is a wolf. Rowan, as we talked about in Tamlin, is first described as a wolf, but then he isn't. So wolves are thrown out a lot. I think it could be any of these things that we've discussed, but there's definitely something wolfy and witchy about the Archeron sister.
Wolfy and witchy. Certainly.
Wolfy and witchy. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Anything else on that one?
We'll talk about it again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Precog corner?
Precog corner. Okay. So precog corner theories are basically our theories that don't have too much weight to them. Pretty crazy, but we want to just put them out in the universe in case by some off chance they're true. It comes from the precognition signet from Empyrean, which was the first series that we covered. So, Abby, would you like to share your precog corner theory?
Yes. I want to go back to the Ourobouros. Definitely a witch mirror, right? Like, this thing's 100% a witch mirror. I think it is not only a witch mirror, but it speaks to a connection between Feyre and I think Manon specifically. So we have a description of the Ouroboros. It was old even when we were young, a window to the world. All could be seen, all could be toned through its dark surface. I already read that one, right? The witch mirror descriptions are you can see future, past, and present. You can speak between mirrors if someone possesses the sister glass. So future, past, and present, a window to the world. All could be seen, all could be told. Sounds pretty similar to me. Again, Feyre goes into the mirror. Manon and Elain go into a witch mirror at the end of Empire of Storms. I think this thing is definitely 100% a witch mirror, which means there were witches in Prythian at some point, and also raises questions. I know people have raised this question, but about Mor's lineage and about her connection to the witches, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the snake around the outside of the Ouroboros, right? In Air of Fire, Manon describes a serpent, an ancient serpent who held the world between his coils at the behest of a three-faced goddess. So yes, in our world, obviously this is the Ouroboros, but I think in this world, perhaps it is that serpent. The name of that serpent is Abraxos, right? Manon named her wyvern after that serpent. So I think this witch mirror specifically has potentially a tie to Manon. Again, not a ton to go off of here, just kind of like fun connections. You talked about the black and gold fur being a part of her like Tamlin self and a part of her kind of Rhys self. Also reminds me of the eyes, of the Valg eyes. So like gold eyes are the eyes of the king. Manon has those gold eyes, but some of her Blackbeak clan have black eyes flecked with gold, which reminds me of Feyre's black and gold fur.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I had?
And by the way, that beast being an indicator of Feyre being a witch still makes perfect sense, because what are witches? They are Valg and Fae.
Exactly.
Like,
so this idea, I only read this today, so I didn't write this down, but it was old when we were young about the Ouroboros mirror. Brannon says that exact quote to Elain about Maeve. And then again, the idea that to look in the mirror is to have madness, right? And to look upon the Val Kings is to have madness. To look at Amarantha is to see madness, right? Like these are all, I think, converging to a point here. And yeah, like witches are just Valg and Fae. So like it works, right? You mentioned Feyre's moon tattoo. The moon is heavily referenced by the witches in Throne of Glass. They don't like derive power or anything from it, but they have different names for all of the phases of the moon. So the crescent moon is the crone's sickle. The new moon is the crone's shadow. The full moon is the mother's full womb. And then Manon's hair is described as the moon, as like the moon as well, right? So it's kind of pointing to Manon. It's kind of pointing to the mother. We also, this is actually a COSM. I should have done this earlier. But one of our, I think they're a listener, and they comment frequently on our Instagrams. Their handle is Zayden Cherry. So thank you, Zayden Cherry, for this idea. They commented, could the Archerons just be descendants of Manon and Dorian, right? Because they're human. Like Dorian is human, right?
They're human, but that would also be like a super obviously powerful. Like it would have to be diluted over time, but totally possible. Yeah.
It would have to be diluted. I don't know. Yeah, right. But like what happened to Celine's power? You know, like we have these like clear bloodlines where power has disappeared. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Manon and Dorian, but I'm definitely feeling the Archeron witchy vibes all over the fucking place here. And we will talk about it more in our next episode too. Like for sure. What's yours?
I had 2 one-liners, and then we can see whether we make them into anything or whether they're just nothing at all, which is kind of the vibe of Precog. Precog Quarter, crazy idea number 1. We talked about how Aurelia, we think, was the source of the Shifter Fae. What if all of Prythian was once Shifter Fae, and every High Fae in Prythian could have had a beast form?
And we absolutely need to talk about this. Yeah.
We hear from Rhys, potentially, depending on how you interpret it, that all Fae were beasts a long time ago. He describes the mating ritual as an important moment when a female offers her mate food. It goes back to whatever beasts we were a long, long time ago. All of the High Lords have a beast form. They are one with like all of the power in the land, basically. Like what if Prythian is actually the home of Shifter Fae?
Okay, second point to this. There is a rumor in the human lands that iron harms Fae. And Correct. It doesn't in Prythian, but it does in Arelea.
It does in Throne of Glass world. But like, you have to be like encased in it for your power to not work, right?
I mean, so I just reread the scene. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's true. But I think it doesn't. Tamlin says iron does nothing to us.
Yeah, but Tamlin's a liar.
Maybe. Okay, I think Lucian says it too. Lucian's also a liar. I don't know. I don't think iron does anything to the Prythian fate.
Well, I guess the King of Hybrid has to have those special chains, so maybe iron.
I mean, I'm still going back to the idea that this is actually the same world. Like, I don't know how, but like something with, because we know the power of the word like keeps the like parallel timelines on the same world, or maybe
Yeah.
even just like Throne of Glass was way in the past and this is what has kind of happened now.
Yeah.
Because we have also long forgotten gods, right?
Yeah.
Could be the Asteri, could also be the gods from Throne of Glass. There's something there. We haven't cracked it yet, but like, I did see this crazy theory over the weekend. I guess I'll just talk about it now, that Elain is the mother and that Elain actually created Prythian when she closed the word gate, because there's a line that says worlds collapsed onto each other. And the rifts in the openings in the universe were Elain opening the word gate, and that's when like the different beasts could slip through. And that she was actually traveling through time when she ended up in Prythian. I did not think that there was enough evidence based on what the person said to convince me that Elain was the mother and the creator of Prythian, but I think I cannot shake the feeling that like these are all kind of the same world.
Somehow. Yeah. And the power, I don't know. The power, when you read Throne of Glass, you're shook harder by the power of Elain and Dorian than you are by the power of the others. So it makes sense that, like the power of Rhys, for example. Like,
okay, there's another thing to talk.
Powerful man in Prythian, allegedly.
Well, yeah, there's another thing to talk about here, which was like what I thought you were going to say, which is that the Fae in Throne of Glass seem much more powerful in general than the Fae in ACOTAR. And Lanthus talks about magic being diminished and magic not being what it once was, right? Like, is it just time? Or has something happened the way that the Asteri are harnessing the magic in Crescent City?
That.
Yeah, I think it might be that
like,
too.
No one has convinced me that the Daglin are not still secretly ruling Prythian. Like, the Cauldron has their power. So, I don't know. Okay, number 2. This is a fun game. This is a fun game. Okay, as I was looking through specifically Feyre's Starborn evidence, got a like tickle in the back of my mind. Guys, please know, this is totally like could be not true at all. So you know how Nesta makes these things, right? Like Nesta forges like a sword and a knife and another sword.
And a house and
she makes a bunch of stuff. Is Rhys gradually making Feyre? And the reason that I say that is because Feyre glows in reaction to basically Rhys like literally pouring himself into her. Okay. And there is this kind of crazy moment right after they first mate where he traces a circle around Feyre's breast, then lower. So he's tracing a circle.
Oh, I remember this moment.
Then
very distinctly.
A downward arrow beneath her belly button. So he's literally drawing a symbol of a male on Feyre's stomach. And then they have a boy. Like, is Rhys unknowingly just like forging Feyre and Nyx over the course of this entire series?
Well, some people certainly think that he's like corrupting her, right? This is a different take than that, I think.
Yeah. I actually don't even think he would be doing it intentionally, right? Nesta totally does everything that she does unintentionally. She makes the house just by loving it and talking to it. She makes the blades just by like hammering them. Could Rhys accidentally just be making Feyre?
Right. In a very real sense, yes, Rhys did make Feyre, right?
Well,
Rhys gave her the Starborn power.
Yeah.
To think about that. I don't know. I mean, what's the outcome there?
Just that she's getting more powerful over time.
Do you feel like we're not done with How many books are supposed to be in this series? I thought 7, right?
I don't know. I don't even know how many are. I assumed that Crescent City was 4 and ACOTAR was 7 because of the 4 houses and the 7 courts. But I kind of feel like you could write about this forever.
I thought I had heard that ACOTAR was going to be 7, which I think is interesting because obviously we're getting book 6. We think that's going to be Elain's story, which kind of leaves book 7 open for interpretation. Like, do you think, because I kind of think it might be a rejoining of all of these stories and one big fucking epic Kingdom of Ash style story.
I think it has to be.
I think it has to be.
I guess the question is, does it have to be, is that how ACOTAR is going to go, or is that going to be Crescent City?
I don't know.
Because I think it's so far being set up to be Crescent City, right? Like that's where the crossover is happening. But I don't know how we write another ACOTAR book later in Nyx's life and like Bryce Quinlan doesn't drop in.
I think it has to be ACOTAR. I think it has to be ACOTAR because I think it's exactly what you said, where the Daglin are not really gone, maybe, or they come back or something. Bryce gives Nesta the Star Sword, right? And she says at the end of Crescent City, the time of the Starborn Fae in Midgard is over. here, take the Star Sword. So
Yeah.
I think it has to be ACOTAR.
I'm just so curious how she's going to pull that off, because like that's how, in my mind, that's how you start the next book of Crescent City, is with that plot line. Because like you can't just insert that without proper context into the middle of A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is an active debate. We can continue this, but like
I don't know. I don't have the answer. You get
She
readers
so
like
far
us
has-
who are just like, boom, 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 boom.
yeah, I don't know. She so far has not given any indication to anyone that you had to have read
Crescent City.
Crescent City.
But she is weaving the Daglin in.
She is, yeah. Yeah, so maybe she'll just keep doing this effectively in parallel. That, I feel like, just has to mean that the conclusion, the part with the Star Sword, however that plays out, is probably Crescent City.
We'll get to it in our next conversation.
What are they going to say? Like, oh, we found Gwydion from this random woman who showed up, and we're not going to tell you any of the story.
I see what you're saying. How does Nesta explain that she has this Star Sword
Yeah,
in the next book?
perhaps.
Yes. I'm not a writer. I don't know. I'm not a writer.
All right. Okay. Well, that, I think, anything else to add? Are we good there?
Good.
All right. What are you reading, Abby?
I am reading Throne of Glass.
Okay.
But I have things to talk about here. I did start the spell shop, which I said I was going to start.
Okay.
It's nice. It's lovely. It's a little slow at the beginning. I will get back to it, but I am just so swept up in Throne of Glass world at the moment.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to reread all of the Maasverse, but it's just like, I can't stop now.
Yeah.
So
you're in it. Especially since it's only your second read. That's
how many
like
times have you read it?
I guess I've only read Crescent City once. I'm doing my second read now. I feel like I reread the parts of Throne of Glass that I liked, but there's definitely a good amount of Throne of Glass that I just haven't reread.
Look, I've said it on this podcast before. The first time I'm reading these books, it's for, I'll say, the love story.
Yeah.
Which is so dumb because I actually love the fantasy and the world building so much.
Yeah.
And the second read is so much better. Every time. It's so much better. Yeah. And I love it. Definitely reread books, guys.
Other people have probably slightly less bad in that I do pay attention to the full plot. But I agree with you. Like you're reading it for vibes on the first.
God, like the first time I read Throne of Glass, I was like, where the fuck did Manon and Dorian come from? This is so random. And now I'm like, oh, Manon and Dorian, that seed was planted like way back.
Yeah, I definitely have brought this up on this podcast before, but there was a commenter on TikTok that just asked whether she could skip the witch chapters. And I was like, no. Unless, I mean, maybe if you want to avoid the biggest heartbreak ever, then maybe skip the witch chapters. But dang, you're missing out.
What are you reading, Ron?
Crescent City.
Oh, right. Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah, I'm reading Crescent City. I have a lot of books to catch up on. I know I have to get back to the Shepherd King duology, and I'm excited to, but I just don't have time to both catch up on Crescent City and read that. I watched the series based on Jenny Han's trilogy. Have you heard of this? The Summer I Turned Pretty?
Oh yeah, of course I've heard of it. It's fucking everywhere. Yeah.
It's everywhere. Yeah. And I was like, I just need to know what happens because I can't see it everywhere and just have no idea what is going on. I'm not going to lie. And I know I'm going to get crucified for this because people love this series. The second season was a hate watch.
Oof.
It was a hate watch. I hated every minute of it. Third season came back around, but I had to get that out of the way because it's literally, it's infiltrating our algorithm. The Romantasy algorithm is infiltrated by the Summer I Turned Pretty fans. And so when I'm doing my algorithm work, I'm just God, I need to know what the hell is going on with this series. So
I see ads for it constantly and I'm like, are there Fae? I don't care if there's not.
No. Yeah, it's entirely, well, I won't even say it's realistic. It's about humans.
It takes place in this world.
It takes place in this world. I wouldn't say it's realistic. The other thing that bothered me, honestly, about the marketing for this series is every time an episode came out, they are posting spoilers from the episode. Clips from the episode that spoil everything. And so I'm okay, well, why am I watching this?
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm glad I did it. I'm also glad it's over, frankly.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We are on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube as Dragons in the Details Pod is our handle. We have an email address, dragonsinthedetailspod@gmail.com. Follow us, interact with us there. It's super fun. We have a Discord. It's called Dragons in the Details. Is it pod server? I think it's just Dragons in the Details server.
I think it's just Dragons in the Details.
Yeah,
it's just Dragons in the Details.
Our Discord server. It's linked in all of our socials.
We get fun conversations on the Discord, guys. Like,
Discord's
really,
fun.
It's like Reddit on steroids. It's super fun.
It's fun. And like, comment, subscribe to wherever you listen. It means a lot to us and it really helps us out. We're little, but we're working on getting bigger.
Small but mighty.
Small but mighty. Okay. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.